All right, Max here with Joe for a crazy mad collab. Joe, it's safe to say from the viewers that watch our channels that we are friends. We're like brothers, but we disagree a lot on topics.
Yes, yes.
So for this first topic, it was going to be the Andy Muschietti Flash comments interview update, and you responded on my video. I did at least do an update video, which I think you might have appreciated a little bit, but you still think you said on my video, and I saved this to confront you. And no, I don't get mad at you. Well, I think we can slightly annoy each other with our opinions every once in a while, but I don't get mad at my brother. But I will say, you said Max is full of shirt once again.
That's not what I said.
Well, I'm not going to say literally what you said because I want to make some money on this vid. Yes, but you get the idea. So first off, I would say it was newsworthy. It was a story. The context update from the Andy Muschietti interview did help, and it didn't sound as bad. It seems like he got info after the Flash that said the demographics leaned a certain way, and I think that the audience doesn't understand that the industry really does. When something doesn't meet expectations, they overanalyze it with numbers and demographics. Why didn't this work? Instead of looking at like quality reasons, like people, like a lot of fans say, oh, it wasn't good. And I know you disagree with fans on The Flash. You think it was a really good movie, but they look at numbers, money, and demographics of why it didn't hit where the numbers they were looking. They overanalyze it with that. So I think that's where his take was coming from, is when Flash didn't meet expectations. Warner Brothers probably met with him, gave him all these numbers. This didn't meet our expectation here and there. So I think that's where it was coming from.
Yeah, he says in the interview, conversations were had after the fact, and it was made known to me. So
but that was the context we didn't get with the initial reports.
Yeah, it's like clearly he wasn't just pulling stuff out of his butt. Like this is things that were put now.
But it did still seem like excuses for a lot of viewers, though. It's like, oh, excuses the why it didn't work. Just, yeah.
Well, I mean, you can use the word excuses or you could use the word reasons. It's half dozen of one and six of the other. There's a reason for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing what those reasons are, I mean, when we say excuses, that makes it sound inherently negative.
Isn't it the director's responsibility to elevate the project to make it more appealing to more people?
I think it's the director's job to make the best movie he can.
Mm-hmm. But
once you've done that, it's out there. Then
James, for example, James Gunn has taken comic book properties that have not been considered very popular and elevated to the general audiences consistently. I think he's had a little hit and miss a few times, but so even if the Flash wasn't hitting those demos, I think Flash is a good enough character, well known enough that I think he could have made it more appealing to the mass market.
I don't see what he could have done. To me, let's go back to Batman and Robin. Remember the movie Batman and Robin?
Yes.
That movie came out, and I think when it was all said and done, the general public agreed, I think mostly, that the general public agreed that it wasn't George Clooney's fault. I think it was pretty much agreed this was a crappy script. It was a terrible script they had. But you know who took the blame for that movie in the public?
George Clooney.
George Clooney in interviews said, I killed the franchise. He took that on himself. George Clooney was out there saying, I killed the franchise. Many
he was probably one of the best parts of that, yeah.
Do you know who didn't take any responsibility for that? And in interviews,
producers?
Akiva Goldsman, who wrote the script. Akiva Goldsman made excuse after excuse after excuse. And it's like, it's amazing that the guy who wrote the thing that nobody liked isn't going to own up to the fact that, and you know what? Stand by your work. I agree. Stand by your work. Like I saw somebody once get angry that they said Rian Johnson can't admit he made a bad movie. Well, Rian Johnson shouldn't have to admit he made a bad movie. He liked the movie he made.
Yeah.
Never apologize for the work you made. You put something, you put pen to paper, you're always going to be doing your best work. It may not hit the people may not react to it the way you expected them to, but it doesn't mean you didn't make the movie you wanted to make. Unless you did make the movie you don't want to make, unless you did were like say, well, this isn't what I intended, but like bad example because nobody likes him anyway. But like when Bill Cosby made Leonard Part 6, he came out before.
Do you always have to bring Bill Cosby into this?
Well, he was in the press tour telling people don't go see this movie. This movie didn't turn out good. He wasn't proud of it. So,
well, we didn't even get to the major part. I disagreed with you though.
All right, what's that?
Your comment, on my update video. You said doesn't matter, non-news.
Well, it's not.
It is. It is news. People care. So let me separate this.
Wait. Whether
you think it should be news, whether you think it should be news is different than if it is news.
Well, here's your thing. Your whole thesis was that this has some kind of effect on Batman Brave and the Bold, which it doesn't because that's a movie that's not even in production yet.
What is PR? Public?
Yeah, but there is no PR for a movie that doesn't exist yet.
It's bad PR. Public relations.
What public relations? There's no movie. There's no movie. They're not going to start production on that movie until like later, a year or two from now.
I think you may be a little out of touch with the general public is a big talking point, and it is news, whether you think it should be or not. No, I do think you think this kind of BS shouldn't be news.
Here's the thing: the general public isn't talking about this.
The general movie, the people in the movie nerds fandom.
Yeah, they're not talking about it.
I also think
you think they're talking about it. You know why you think they're talking about it? Because you're seeing it on Twitter. I deleted Twitter.
I think
being talked about anywhere else.
Well, I think there's enough people that like superhero movies that follow some of this stuff know about it. I don't think it's just isolated to only online. I don't. I think superhero genre has got to the point where people follow this stuff. It's very popular. It's one of the most popular topics of movie talk. So I think people know.
So tell me how it matters then. Explain how.
Because this is not even talking about Snyderverse, Hamadaverse, or anything. Because there's been consistent issues with messaging and Warner Brothers and to the public. And for people to care about this reboot for James Gunn, it has to feel fresh and not more drama and baggage. So this feels like excuses and baggage from the previous version of DC. And that's why it's not good, along with the underperforming of the Flash. Even though you love the Flash, you think you believe what James Gunn says. I think that's PRBS, even though I love James Gunn. I think a lot of people in the industry do PRBS. I don't believe that he thought it was the greatest superhero movie of all time. I think you do.
James Gunn doesn't do that.
I believe
James Gunn doesn't do that. First of all, okay, then where's Henry Cavill? I mean, if it was PR, wouldn't he be like, "Oh, we're gonna find a role for Henry Cavill"?
Not if it's in his benefit not to bring Cavill back because he's working on Superman and his own Superman. He's obviously not going to pump up Black Adam and Henry Cavill because he took over and changed that.
But he's going to bring back one guy and only one guy from the previous regime. Filmmaker. I mean, there's what's his name? David. I can't think of his name now. David.
Well, for one thing he did. He already knew at that time that Jason Momoa was going to be Lobo in his version of DC, so he didn't really care too much about Aquaman. Ended at the other movie during production or since James Gunn took over, I think was released was Blue Beetle. Was that released during June? He didn't really talk about that one much.
And there's a character that he officially announced, "Hey, I'm keeping this."
I'm assuming to respond to you, Joe.
Okay.
To respond to you, why he didn't pump up those other projects is, I think he already had plans for Momoa, and Aquaman had a little bit of stink from Amber Heard on it. Of course, Flash had stink from Ezra on it, but it was also a very expensive movie. So he wanted to give it his best shot.
So then why didn't they write it off? for the tax. Because people in the media, people were saying, why isn't this movie a tax write-off when you have a star that is unmarketable right now?
Well,
and the answer kept coming back, we can't write this one off. It's too good.
I think it's too, I think that's PR. I think it's too big. I think the Batgirl was a lesser budget. Blue Beetle was also a lesser budget. These were movies that were made for HBO Max at first in a smaller budget, and then they decided to go theatrical.
So wouldn't James Gunn have had more to gain by pushing Blue Beetle, seeing as he said up front, we're keeping Zolo Manduela. He's going to stay as Blue Beetle in my universe. Knowing that, and you know, all the Gunn haters are out there going, Blue Beetle failed. That was the first film in Gunn's unit. They always say that, even though it wasn't. They always say that.
My guess, just as speculating, is there was a lot more stakes on Flash than Blue Beetle. And in Flash, why? If you go with my point of view that it was PRBS, that we're getting Andy Muschietti for Batman Brave and Bold. It's the best movie of all time. You get Tom Cruise. Even though I love Tom Cruise, I love. It's not that I dislike James Gunn. I do think it was PRBS. I do not think he thought it was the best movie of all time.
You know why did that comment, right?
Because he had to deal with Warner Brothers.
No, it came out. It came out in the press why Tom Cruise saw the film early. They went to him and asked him to play Jay Garrick in the Time Sphere. When they went to the Time Sphere, they wanted Tom Cruise to be Jay Garrick. So he watched the movie, liked it, and said, I like this, but I'm going to pass on that.
Okay, that's cool. So, but I still think part of it was he had a Warner Brothers deal. He came out later. So, I think there were a lot more budget, a lot more money went into the Flash, and Muschietti is still a Warner Brothers made man. He's got the It series, you know. I think they wanted that to succeed. They weren't really concerned about Aquaman as much, because Jason moved on. He doesn't want to work with Amber again. Also, another factor of why they didn't push Aquaman as much, to me personally, in my just speculating, is James Wan and Hamada kind of did his own thing and took James Wan with him a little bit. James Wan's, with DC.
Make no mistake about it, though. Make no mistake. If Aquaman had blown the doors off at theaters, Momoa would be back as Aquaman.
I don't think so.
Oh no, that movie, you're not going to give away $1 billion franchise. You're not going to say we have $1 billion franchise here, but we're willingly going to stop.
You know what? I said that it was fake news about the test screenings, people walking out of Aquaman 2, but after actually watching it, I don't blame people. I think it could have happened, because I was really let down by Aquaman.
I was let down by it too, though it played better the second time. When I reviewed the 4K disc, it
lacked energy, and it just felt like Jason Momoa walking around instead of Aquaman. You know, it didn't have the energy of the first one.
It's much better the second viewing, because I had to review the 4K disc. But that's the funny thing. Of those 4 DC films, the last 4 DC films, Shazam, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman, the worst of the 4 was Aquaman. And it was the most successful of the 4. It made the most money of those 4. And it was by far, because the other 3 were good movies. Shazam, Flash, and Blue Beetle were all solid films. Aquaman was the only one I walked out and was like, oh boy.
So Joe, will you admit that it's news about Andy Muschietti? What do you think it's?
I don't think it's news, because it's not being talked about. Nobody. You're talking. Okay, first of all, you're talking about an interview given in Portuguese that most people didn't hear, and then a few people on Twitter translated a couple lines, shared it around Twitter.
It's everywhere. It's articles. A lot of people are. YouTube videos all over, influencers all over the place.
And also, they're talking about The Flash. They're talking about The Flash. They're saying this is why Muschietti said The Flash failed. It has nothing to do with Batman, so therefore it's irrelevant to his Brave and the Bold film.
I made bets with other people. I'll do one bet with you. I don't know if you want to do a bet. I'll bet you $5 that James Gunn directs the Batman movie for the DCU and not Muschietti. Even though I'd be happy.
I don't think there's any chance of that.
Would you be upset if James Gunn took over for Batman?
Oh yeah,
you would be.
Oh yeah, no, I want Muschietti directing that.
Okay.
After the Flash, I mean,
keep in mind if Batman the Brave and the Bold comes out directed by Andy Muschietti, I'll be there day one to support it.
And I love James Gunn. I'm a huge fan of his Suicide Squad. I'm a huge fan of the Peacemaker. I love the Guardians movies, but I enjoyed the Flash more than I've enjoyed any of Gunn's movies, and I like Gunn's movies a lot, but. I mean, Flash is in my top 10 superhero films of all time, but probably my top 5.
All right. I love the movie. I like the movie. I like parts. Ezra and Michael Keaton in it, I love. I don't like the visual effects, and I don't like the ending, and I don't like the villain.
I'll tell you something else, and this is something you're not going to want to hear. You're not going to like this
I can
one
handle
bit.
it. I can handle it.
I think part of the reason the Flash failed is because of Snyder, because people
it's not that I don't want to hear it. Okay.
People did not like Zack Snyder's movies. They didn't, and Aquaman.
What? You're blaming the Flash failure on Zack Snyder?
Who was the Flash?
Oh my God, Joe!
It was the same guy that was in.
You got Snyder derangement syndrome. It's not his fault that the Flash failed. They love the Flash scene in the Snyder cut.
Who does? Snyder fans? Not the general public.
Not just Snyder fans. That people love that scene. When he does,
I'll tell you, I thought Ezra Miller.
You gotta admit that scene was legit. That scene.
I thought Ezra Miller made for a good Flash.
Yeah,
but even before his crime spree, I think we have to accept the fact that of all the cast from the Snyder Justice League, Ezra Miller was the least popular one.
I will admit that.
I heard a lot of people when
Eisenberg
Justice League came out saying he was annoying. They didn't think he was funny.
But he was when he was originally cast, he was an upcoming star.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will admit they're right behind Eisenberg's Lex. Yes, he's the most.
I think we mispronounced Ezra too.
I think Ezra went back to he. I might be mistaken there. I don't intentionally do mispronounce, I don't, but I think so. I think it's what I heard last.
Look,
I will give you that point. And then we got to go to the other topic because I got to get to bed.
And by the way, this may be an unpopular thing to say, but I do my best with the pronouns. But for God's sakes, keep your pronouns consistent. If you're going to change back and forth, I can't keep track.
No, that's not fair either, Joe. That's not fair either. Just we intend, the easiest way is we intend to do the pronouns. If it's a mistake, sorry, I didn't mean to. Anyway, I will give you the point that Ezra is the least liked of the Justice League cast.
Well, was the least liked because then Ray Fisher said, "Hold my beer."
No, Ray,
I think he is now the least
people
liked.
No, I'm not talking about Ray Fisher's social media presence. I'm talking about his acting as Cyborg was legit.
Yeah, but he's now known to the public as Cryborg.
Okay, but the acting as Cyborg was legit. But you have to admit, even though you don't even think it's. I'm not even covering this. I'm waiting until next Friday to cover this. Should the Snyder been released? Don't even say it. Don't even say it because I'm going to debate you on this shit. But you have to at least give a point that the scene in the Snyder cut with the Flash, when he's learning and go back time, that was a good scene.
I mean, it wasn't very memorable.
Oh my God.
I don't even know that scene.
God.
I don't even know that scene.
I'm done.
I watched the movie twice and I don't remember that.
Oh my God. Now you're.
You know what I remember? Do you know what I remember? I remember Aquaman taking his sweater off and women sniffing it. I remember women.
No, you're just bringing up weird
all
stuff.
The time. I remember him constantly throwing.
I think you're fronting now.
No,
I think that was like.
I don't even remember. I remember the completely unnecessary.
You love Flash.
I remember the completely unnecessary scene with the Flash, where they basically just ripped off the Quicksilver scene from Days of Future Past and had him slow mo like creep on Iris.
You're saying he was creeping? No, he saved her life.
That was a creepy scene, man.
All right, we're done here. Next top. If you want to support more crazy mad collabs with me and Joe that completely disagree, thumbs up the video and give us another topic to debate, because oh boy, this might be something, Joe, because we don't get one-on-ones much where we could really debate it out. I think we haven't changed each other's minds. We're still in the same camps when we started this video. So who do you think won this debate about Muschietti and the topic? Is it newsworthy, or is nothing to see here? Let us know in the comments section, and we'll see you in another video.